Hello, class 12 children. Good morning. This is your Yogesh sir teaching you English literature or English paper 2 through online class. To come back to what we were discussing in our last online class was we had taken up a new story, The Singing Lesson, written by Catherine Masville. And in fact, this is the the second last okay story that we are dealing with. After that, we are left with one more chapter, and that will bring the end of our textbook, Echoes, which is a collection of short stories. Right? Now, to talk about what we were discussing in the story was we saw the opening. Miss Meadows happens to be the protagonist of this story so far, right? And she is a music teacher in one of the girls' schools. Uh, and one particular morning, when she is on the way to take her music class to teach her students of class 4, 5, and 6, we notice that she is not happy at all, right? Uh, in the corridor, she meets the science teacher who had a little bit of chit chat with her, but she did not perhaps read uh, the inner feelings of Miss Meadows that day, right? So after having a bit of conversation with the science teacher, Miss Meadows heads towards the music hall. And there in the music hall, you saw how the students were before the entrance of the teacher, right? Is always full of noise. Children are all running here, running there. They are not at their respective seats. Uh, they shout, they make noise, and we saw one particular child whose name is Mary Weasley, and she happens to be the favorite child of Miss Meadows, trying hard to make all the rest of the students maintain silence. Meanwhile, she notices Miss Meadows entering in the hall. Right. So as soon as she enters, Miss Mary Weasley, the child, tries to alert every scattered children here and there to take their respective seats, right? And we notice uh, that Miss Meadows uh, is here not in that regular mood, okay, what she was seeing, right? And we notice that she makes everybody silent. She had carried a button in her hand, and she uh, perhaps taps to make everybody silence, right? Now, what was going on with Miss Meadows, right? So we notice here that uh, she had received a letter from her fiance stating that uh, he won't be marrying her, right? So after the engagement was done, uh, the the marriage here seemed to be severed, right? By the fiance of Miss Meadows, right? So you notice here that that has completely uh, upset Miss Meadows that day. And after all, uh, she is a lady, and after a lady is engaged to someone to get married, right? She has lots of hopes, she has lots of dreams, and when suddenly the letter comes, okay, stating that the man won't be marrying her, right? It would break every dreams, okay, of the young lady, right? So that is the state of her mind today. Okay, now what happens, we'll see. So towards the uh, end of the letter, which here Miss Meadows receives from her fiance, stated that the word disgust was written first, but it was scratched and written over the word regret, right? And that perhaps was very much hurting to Miss Meadows. Okay, now what happens? We continue. Okay, so we are on page number 92. We continue now. See, Basil. Now we get introduced to who the man was, right? The fiancé of Miss Meadows was named Basil, right? So, in fact, okay, Basil is not physically present in the story, but uh, uh, he determines the course of the story, right? And his role in the story is very pivotal, right? What we can see here, right? So bodily, Basil is not seen or present in the story, except we hear the name and being talked to by Miss Meadows, right? Now see what happens. See, Basil was the reason that made Miss Meadows very very upset that day, right? Because it is he who has sent a letter to Miss Meadows, okay, saying that he won't be marrying her, right? After they got engaged to get married to. Now see, Miss Meadows stalked over to the piano. So, being very, very upset, Miss Meadows, though she has her responsibilities to carry on, right, in her duty, she stalked, right? Stalked means here walked, approached uh, over to the piano because she is going to give a music lesson to her students of class 4, 5, and 6, as said, right? Where the girls have all assembled in the hall to take music lessons taught by Miss Meadows. Now, see, and Mary Misley, who was waiting for this moment, bent forward. And we understood this girl, Mary Beasley, is the favorite child of Miss Meadows, right? Now, she takes the volunteership of drawing closer to Miss Meadows. Now, see, who was waiting for the moment, bent forward. Now, she bent forward. Her curls fell over her cheeks while she breathed. Good morning, Miss Meadows, right? Now, she drew near to Miss Meadows as she usually does, right? And as she bent forward, she had curly hair, right, which fell over her rocky cheeks, and she faintly breathed, right, good morning. So she wished her teacher, right, good morning, right, of the day, right, Miss Meadows, she said, and she motioned towards rather than handed to her mistress a beautiful yellow chrysanthemum, right, and normally this is in the habit of Miss Mary Weasley, right, the child, to give chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum is a flower of a daisy family, right? See, every day presents the flower to Miss Meadows, and that day also she gave a beautiful yellow colored chrysanthemum, right? Right, with her greetings, good morning, Miss Meadows. Now see, this little virtue of the flower had been gone through for ages and ages, quite a term and a half. So it has been, okay, a term and a half. That means, okay, 1.5 years, right? That Mary Bisday always presents a flower, chrysanthemum, to Miss Meadows when she greets in the morning, right? Because he happens to be the favorite of Miss Meadows, right? Then see, it was as much part of the lesson as opening the piano. But this morning, instead of tucking it into her belt, while she leant over Mary and said, "Thank you, Mary." Right? So, uh, before her music lessons, so it is in the habit of Mary Bisday to present chrysanthemum to Miss Meadows, right? Which she always does, right? And today too, she gifted, right, the flower to her, right? And Miss Meadows takes the flower so lovingly and then keeps the flower, right, where into her belt, right, accepting the gift, right, the normal gift, the daily gift that Mary Beasley gives to her, right? So she values it and then gives, okay, into her belt, and then, okay, responses Mary Beasley saying thank you, right? And then the music lessons go on, right? Then see, how very nice. Turn to page 32. What was Mary's horror when Miss Meadows totally ignored the chrysanthemum, made no reply to her greeting, but in a voice of eyes, page 14, please, and mark the accents well. Now you see, right? So here, Mary Meadows was expecting, right, the usual love and affection from her teacher, Miss Meadows, right, who always said thank you after accepting the flower, right? And Mary Beasley was now waiting, right, that the teacher would announce today's lesson page number. That she would say page 32, right? But to add Mary's horror, what she noticed, what? was Miss Meadows did not care at all the chrysanthemum which she gave. Right? She ignored it. The flowers ignored it as if, right, it means nothing to her that day. Right? And she made no reply in of the greeting too. Right? When Mary Beasley said, "Good morning, ma'am." Right? Okay, but Miss Meadows, right, did not respond at all. Okay, but in a very low voice, right, in a voice of cold, right, in a voice of ice, which means she said very coldly, as if there was no charm in her voice. She announced a new page of the day. She said page 14, right? Please, and mark the action well. And she also said that, right, pronounce the words of the song, right, right, as it should be, Miss Meadows said to her children. Okay, so this surprised Mary Beasley a lot. Okay, she could not understand, right, what was going on with Miss Meadows. Okay, then see, staggering moment, Mary blushed until the tears stood in her eyes. So a staggering moment. That means it was a shocking moment for Mary Beasley, right? For Mary, uh, was totally ignored by Miss Meadows, right? Which she had never done so far, right? So Mary blushed until the tears stood in her eyes. So Mary turned red. She became blushed, right? Because she could not understand the reason. Okay, she was discarded, she was ignored, right? But Miss Meadows was gone back to the music stand. Her voice rang through the music hall, right? And what did Miss Meadows do? Miss Meadows went away from there, and she stood on the raised platform, and then she announced the day's music lesson to be given. Okay, now see, page 14, she said, Miss Meadows said, we will begin with page 14, right? This is the reason of the teacher that she is wishing to teach a song that was mentioned in page number 14 in the textbook, right? A lament, and the heading of the song was a lament. A lament means a sorrowful, right? Thing to learn, right? Now, girls, you ought to know it by this time. And she says, right? Miss Meadows announces, now, girls, my dear children, right? You ought to know. You ought to know means you should know, right? It by this time, because it's not just once we have done it, right? We have already done this song, right? Before, right? So by this time you should know it, everything of it, right? So we shall take it all together, right? And we'll sing unanimously. We'll sing all together, right? It's not by division of groups, right? We'll all sing together, right? Not in parts. So we'll not divide ourselves into groups, right? We'll all sing together, all together, she said, and without expression. And we'll not mind our expression, okay, at first. We'll sing it likewise, okay? So sing it, she said, though quite simply beating time with the left hand. And she started, okay, clear beating, giving the, you can say, tempo with the help of her left hand, right? Perhaps, okay, she was beating the baton on the table, counting the, right, time and the moment of the song. Now you see, she raised the baton, right? Miss Merton raised the stick that she had in her hand. She tapped the music stand twice, and she tapped this music stand, right, on which the book is kept, right? And she tapped it, okay, twice out there, right? Down came Mary on the opening chord. So it was Mary to begin the opening line of the song, right? Down came all those left hands, and the rest of the girls followed, okay, her, right? And all started beating in the air with their okay, left hand, and in chimed those young mournful voices. And in chime means making a melodious sound all together, right? This one, those young, right, girls of 4, 5, and 6, right, mournful voices, right, sorrowful voices, because the song is, okay, entitled a lament, and in the same tone these girls, okay, started singing the song. And what was the song? See, the song is this: fast, ah, too fast fade the roses of pleasure, soon autumn yields on to winter dearer. Flitty, ah, flitty, music's gay measure passes away from the listening ear. Right? So these lines are the songs. Right? These lines are the song. Yes or no? Right? So all the girls, okay, sang together this. Okay? So good heavens. So after they have finished this, right? Uh, one, I mean, okay, the stanza of the song, right? One paragraph of the song, right? Now the comment came from Miss Meadows. Good heavens, so she said, right, shockingly, oh God, what are you singing? Right? What could be more tragic than that lament? Right? Now what could be more horrifying than that, okay, very sorrowful song that the girls are singing and which Miss Meadows chose the song for the day. Right? Every note was a sigh, right? A sob, a ground of awful mournfulness. So every girl, right, used the same accent to sing the song. So it was a song of sigh, right, which was a song of relief, right, a sob, a song of cry, a groan of awful mournfulness. It was a painful cry of mournful, right, say words used in this song. Okay. Miss Meadows lifted her arms in the wide gown and began conducting with both hands, right? And Miss Meadows lifted, okay, her arms in the wide gown, in the wide gown, right? And began conducting with both hands. And she began to, just like a musician, right? Gives the musical command to all the musicians to sing it in the right on the hand signals. Likewise, she gave the signals to all the girls to sing. Okay, now see, and then she recalls that later again, right? I feel more and more strongly that our marriage would be a mistake. So she again goes back to that line of that letter which Basil had written to her, right? When the girls are singing, right? Miss Meadows is lost in her own thoughts, right? She began to recall that later again, right? Where it was written that our marriage is a mistake, right? If it happens, then she bet, right? And the voices cried. And on the other side, she is using the baton in her hand and beating the okay table, right, or the music stand, right? She bet it twice again, isn't it? Right? And the voices cry, right? On the other side, the girls are singing the song, right, on her command. Okay, Fleety, ah Fleety, the songs continued. The girls are singing, right? Then see, what could have possessed him to write such a letter? And again, here, Miss Meadows went into the thought, right? She began to recall the letter, right? What made Basil to write such letter to her, right? Which was a letter of rejection of the marriage. Okay, then see. So what could have led up to it? So she's trying to find out the reason. So why did Basil write such letter, right? How come okay Basil has come to that decision, right? Of severing himself okay from the relationship with Miss Meadows, right? Then see. Okay, it came out of nothing. So there was nothing in between the two, right? Miss Meadows okay, began to here feel very much, you can say, embarrassed and very much hurt because it was not at all of her, right, to bring an end to this relation, right? Then how come Basil has done this, right? Miss Meadows was very much thoughtful, right? Then see, his last letter had been all about the fumed oak bookcase he had bought for our books, right? She began to recall the gift that Basil had gifted to her, right? So see, so his last letter, right, had been all about a fumed oak, right, bookcase he had bought for her books. Okay, so see, he even okay had a bookcase okay bought for Miss Meadows, since she is a teacher, she is a music teacher who uses books, right? So that would be of good use for her to keep the valuable books that she teaches. Okay, then see, and a nasty little and the nasty little hand okay holly stand, right? Nasty means a nice smart, right? Beautiful, right? Little okay holly stand he had seen, right? A very neat affair with a carved owl on a bracket holding three hat brushes in its claws. So it was a beautiful gift, right? A showpiece which was gifted right to Miss Meadows, a token of love that Basil had given to Miss Meadows, right? How she had smiled at that, and when she had received that gift from Basil, right, which was a token of love which he had brought, right, she was very much happy. She was very much, you can say, excited to get that to get that gift, and she had a beautiful smile on her face when she received that gift, right? So, like a man to think, one needed three hat brushes. From the listening ear sang the voices. On the other side, right, the girls are singing the song. Okay, the girls are continuing with the song, right? Miss Meadows, right? Unknown to anyone, what is happening inside her? She was thinking of the later, and the girls on the other side they were okay carried on with the tempo of the song as Miss Meadows tapped the button on the stand, right, urging them to sing. Okay, then see. So when the singing got over by the girls, then see, once again said Miss Meadows. So Miss Meadows again said, sing it once again, right, one more time, but this time in parts. But I want you all girls to sing this song in divisions, in groups, right? First this group will sing, after they finish, then next group will sing. Likewise, she told, right, the girls to do it, still without expression. And she said that, right, still sing the song without expression, right? Then see, fast, too fast. So one group is started singing those lines with the gloom, that means with the darkness of the contraltos added, right? So contraltos means the lowest female voice in a lowest tone, right? He continued to sing this song. Okay, then see, one could scarcely help stuttering. So one could scarcely, not at all help trembling. Okay, then see, fade the roses of pleasure. Right, the song continued and ended. Okay, last time he had come to see her, Basil had worn a rose in his buttonhole. Again, Miss Meadows went into her thought, right, and she began to think about the last times Basil's, right, paying a visit to her, right. So when he had come to see her, meet her, right, what was there? Right, he had worn a rose in the buttonhole of the coat that he had put on. How handsome he had looked in that bright blue suit. So how handsome, right? Basil looked in that bright blue color suit, right? With dark red rose, right? Put in the buttonhole, right? So it looked very handsome. Nancy, and he knew it too. He couldn't help knowing it. First he stroked his hair, then his mustache. His teeth gleamed when he smiled. Right? And how was the meeting, you see? Yes or no? So first he stroked when he came near to her, Miss Meadows. He then lifted his hand and then he touched the hair and began to arrange the hair with his hand. Right? That is normally done when the hero would go to see his heroine. Now you see. Okay. He then touched his mustache. Basil touched his mustache, corrected his mustache. He stood manly, right? His teeth gleamed when he smiled, and when he came close to her, right, he gave a smile, right, on Miss Meadows, right, and his teeth was, right, gleaming, shining, right, whitish, as if he had brushed, right, nicely, that day, because he was, right, to meet, right now, his would-be wife, Miss Meadows. Now see. The headmaster's wife keeps on asking me to dinner. It is a perfect nuisance. I never get an evening to myself in that place. Right? And she also recalled the moment of conversation she had with Basil. Right? So what was the conversation she recalled? She said that the headmistress' wife often calls me at her house, right, for dinner. Right? So it is a perfect nuisance. That means for me it is a perfect uncomfortableness because I'm a teacher and the headmaster's wife, right? The headmistress often invites me to have dinner with her in our home, right? So that is quite uncomfortable for me, right? So I never get an evening to myself, and of course, I have no time, right, in the evening to go and attend that invitation. Right now, she recalls the moment that she had conversed with Basil on meeting him. But can't you refuse? Right? Was what Basil said, right? So if you are not going, then you should refuse to attend the invitation, right? That's what he told. Oh well, it doesn't do for a man in my position to be unpopular, right? She said. Okay, then see, music's gay measure. Well, the voices on the other side uttered the voices in chorus, right, with the song line, right? The girls are singing. Okay, Miss Meadows is lost in her thoughts. The willow trees outside the high, narrow windows waved in the wind, and outside the school, right from the window, right from the windows, one can see the willow trees, right outside, right, with the narrow windows, waved in the wind. There's a gentle push of the wind, right, blowing against the willow trees. They had lost half their leaves, so the trees have now lost half their leaves, and soon it will be winter, right, and the trees will be bare without leaves. The tiny ones that clung wriggled like fishes caught on a line, right? Then see, so the tiny ones that clung wriggled, that means the tiny leaves that are still held together, right, they are all turned, right, just like the fish caught in a line, right? So small you can say tree leaves are still okay hanging, right, in the tree branches, right, and soon that will be over. Okay, and again she recalls, right, I'm not a marrying man. She recalls the letter where Basil told that I'm not marrying you. Okay, the voices were silent, the piano waited. The voices on the other side, right, became silent, right, and the piano also stopped. The song got over. Now they are waiting for the mistress. They are waiting for the miss, right, Miss Meadows to command, right, what they should do. Then see, quite good, said Miss Meadows, but still in such a strange, stony tone that the younger girls began to feel positively frightened. Okay, now what did Miss Meadows says? Miss Meadows says, right, quite good. That is not the perfect song, right, that you sang, right? It's quite good, right? But still in such a strange, stony tone that the younger girls began to feel positively frightened, and she had a very strange voice to tell this, right? With the small girls, the younger girls, they were certainly frightened, right? Now, what is actually happening with Miss Meadows, right? She seemed to be quite displeased with our singing, right? So she may cane us, she may beat us, she may punish us, right? That was the kind of the thought the small girls, the younger girls began to have, because repeatedly here Miss Meadows is making them singing the same lines. Then see, but now that we know it, we shall take it with expression. Now we are thorough with the song lines. Now we shall sing it with the expression, right? She said, as much expression as you can put into it, right? Miss Meadows says, now we are going to sing the song with expression, right? Word and the expression, right? And as much as expression that you can give into the song, right? Think of the words, girl, she said, right? So think of the words, and the same word, right, expression must be there on your face, right? She said, use your imaginations. So think, right, when you sing the song. Then the girls started again. Okay, the same song. Fast, too fast, right? Cried Miss Meadows, right? She gave a lead. Okay, that ought to break out, right? A loud, strong forte element, right? And she said, now this is what you are going to do, right? And this must be the line which is a forte of yours. Forte means a thing at which someone is good at this, someone excels in that. So you have to sing it in that way. Make this song, right, yours, right? That was what she said. And it should be a lament, it should be a sorrowful song, right? And like the song is sorrowful, so should be expression on the face, right? And then in the second line, winter dear, make that dearer sound as if a cold wind were blowing through it. And the word dearer, right, make the word sound as if the cold wind is blowing, right, through it, right? She said, right, dearer should be the word. Okay, said she so awfully that Mary Bisley on the music stool wriggled her spine, right? And when she said this, uh, Mary Bisley, who was playing the piano, she then turned her body to look at Miss Meadows, right? Wriggled her spine means she twisted her spinal cord to look at towards where Miss Meadows is, right now telling. The third line should be one crescendo, and the third line should be, right, in one crescendo. Means we should be an increased, right, voice. We should be in increased tone, right? Fleety, music's gay measure, right? So she said this, right? Sing it in this way, right? Since she is a music teacher, so she has to guide the students in the way that the song should be. Okay, breaking on the first word of the last line passes, and then on the word away. You must begin to die, to fade, until the listening ear is nothing more than a faint whisper. The last line should be in whisper, right? We should be sung in whisper, right? As he said, okay? You can slow down as much as you like, almost on the last line. Now, please, right? So you must slow down as much as to nothing, right? Only by the breath, right? The last line should be sung, she said, okay? And then Miss Meadows says, now you begin, right? Oh, girls, now you carry on. Right, sing the song again with the expression this time, she said. Okay, now see, again the two light taps. Again she gave two light taps on the music stand. Right, that was a counting line. Right, the counting tap. Now we begin. She lifted her arms again, fast, too fast. She lifted her arms, and the girls all, right, sang together. Okay, the first line of the song. And the idea of settling down fills me with nothing but disgust, right? And again she recalls that later, right? And the idea of settling down fills me with Nothing but disgust. Disgust was the first word written by Basil in the letter, which was right erased, and right on top written regret. Okay, disgust was what he had written. Right, that was as good as to say their engagement was definitely broken off. Now this is enough for them to understand that the relationship is now severed. Right, they are separated now. Okay, now see, broken off. Their engagement is now broken off. Right, they were scheduled to get married. Right, they were already engaged to get married to one another. But now, right, is a sad news for Miss Meadows that Basil has rejected of marrying Miss Meadows. Okay, people had been surprised enough that she had got engaged. So people are all known to this fact that the two are getting married very soon. Okay, many of them have already come across this news that Miss Meadows is getting married, right, with Basil, right, when in due course of time. Okay, now if they come to know that Basil has now rejected marrying Miss Meadows, so that would be a very shocking news for people who have the idea that these two are getting married. Okay, the science mistress would not believe it at first. So the science mistress would be very much unbelievable to this news, because she perhaps knows everything of the relationship between Meadows and Basil, right? But nobody had been as surprised as she, right? But at this juncture, at this point of time, nobody is as surprised, as shocked as, right, Miss Meadows, right, herself is, right? And with her, the science teacher, she would also be very much okay surprised to know this, right? She was 30, no, see, right? Miss Meadows was 30 years old, right? Basil was 25, and Basil, with whom she was going to get married, was 5 years junior to her. He was 25 years old, right? It had been a miracle, so it had been a surprise. Okay, simply a surprise, simply a miracle to hear him say, as they walked home from church that very dark night, right? Now she goes back to the time, right, the moment when they first met each other, right? So see, so to hear him say, as they walked home from church that very dark night, so it was the evening time, they had attended the church, and after the church congregation got over, right, then they walked, okay, home together. Okay, somehow or other I have got fond of you, in which Basil, okay, told Miss Meadows, right, uh, his feelings, his emotions, right, on that time he had shared with Miss Meadows, right, who told her, that I am very much fond of her. That means, okay, I like her, right, I like you, he had told her. And he had taken hold of the end of her ostrich feather boa, right, and even, okay, he caught hold of the scarf. Boa is a scarf which Miss Meadows was wearing around her neck, right? So that was a loving moment, right, to come into the relationship between the two, right? So she recalls that moment, the first time they met, and they exchanged their, okay, feelings to one another. Okay, on the other side, the song continues. The children are singing the song. Passes away from the listening ear, right? The song continued. The children are singing, right? This time with the expression, perhaps, right, as told by Miss Meadows. Repeat, repeat, said Miss Meadows. More expression, girls, once more. But when the song got over, right, Miss Meadows again says, right, sing it again, but this time with more expression, right? Give more expression to your uh, to your song, she said. Okay. Now what happens? Right. How far she goes on recalling the moment, right, she had shared with Basil, right? And what was the reason here Basil wanted to sever this relation with Miss Meadows, right? Now, if this relationship is severed, right, what is the effect on Miss Meadows, right? How she is going to live her life, right? Those all things are talked in the later part of the story. So I think we'll again continue the remaining in our next online class. Thank you very much.